Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time on this Thursday afternoon. As you know, these are our weekly training webinars, and we are delighted to have you here. Number one. Number two, we want to make sure that you walk away with plenty of nuggets, sales ideas, marketing material, new product info, enough where when you hang up this afternoon after 3 p.m. Eastern, you can make some more sales, help some more families, help your own family, right? Supplement your income. That's the name of the game. And I think we're going to accomplish that with today's presentation because we have some great stuff to share on our side and then with Pacific Life on their side as well. What I want you to do is please don't hesitate to use that Q&A pane that you can expand or minimize, which is the go-to webinar software there. And you'll see it on usually the top right corner, depending on where it's located on your screen. But please jump in with feedback, comments, questions, good, bad, and different. We want to hear from you because ultimately these webinars are built around your feedback. Okay, so please jump in. And then don't be shy. You can reach out to any one of our marketers when we finish up, okay? And we all are very comfortable with Pack Life and their product portfolio, so we can jump in, help you with illustrations, contracting, applications, everything you need from A to Z. Also, last not least, you will get a thank you email in your inbox tonight with all of the information that we're touching on today. Okay, so keep your eyes peeled for that. If you do not get that email or see that email in your inbox, let's say by 8, 9 p.m. tonight, let us know because that means we have your incorrect email address or it's sitting in your junk folder. Okay, so please let us know if you're not seeing that tonight. Okay, so what are we talking about today? So it's going to be a great presentation. Like I said a couple times, we do have our vice president with Pack Life. Carlin is joining us. If you've been to our expos, you have seen her speak. Pack Life has been a major sponsor every single year, and they're one of our favorite go-to carriers, especially when it comes to competitive term. In fact, typically number one or two in the industry. So competitive term that has a great conversion privilege and a GUL, in my opinion. In fact, it was our number one selling GUL last year, but in my opinion, no one comes close. And I'm not just saying this because she's listening, okay? I'm saying this because it's a fact, okay? So these are two go-tos, and when it comes to term and permanent GUL with return of premium built in and this great conversion privilege, no one else comes close, okay? And then when you talk about branding and ratings and customer service, okay, Pack Life stands alone. And I mean that, and you could just look it up when we're done on Google, and you'll see, again, the facts. Okay, let's jump right into our presentation at Levinson. I have just a few slides and incentives, and then we'll turn it over to Carlin. Speaking of incentives, make sure you're on until 3 p.m. because we're going to have our giveaway. At the end, we're going to ask a question that has to do with our material that we're going over today. Whoever answers first incorrectly wins the Fire HD8 tablet and prospecting books. We have two new ones on us, complimentary, so you have to answer correctly. And first, we pick your name, we'll announce it at the end, and then you get the prizes. As long as you're an active agent, meaning that you're appointed with us and you have written at least one application in the last year, which I know most of you have. So we should be good to go. Okay. Now, this is important because, I've been in the business now almost 25 years, and we've seen a lot of changes, okay, over the years. And what's happening lately, especially since COVID, and I don't really know why, but a lot of these, I don't know, you want to call them BGAs, MGAs, uplines, whatever, they're writing business and they're wholesaling, okay? So they're also selling leads, okay? And they're writing and marketing to the same consumer bucket as their agents, okay, which is a conflict of interest, okay? It's a big red flag. My point is the IMO should be focused on their agent, okay, being their client, their number one, their everything. So when we see our client, okay, which is our agents, write these comments and testimonials on our Facebook page, on our Google reviews page, it means the world to us. Okay, we're not a retail shop, we are a wholesaler. And Marcia, Adam, this is what moves the needle for our staff, for our company. Okay, we now have employees in 4 states, but this is shared within the office. And then we typically will do a lunch. In fact, we have a lunch on Monday and we celebrate these things. These are big wins. So please share on Facebook, share on Google. And I'm just real fast going to repeat Marcia's comment here. I'm a licensed agent. I was just on the webinar. I enjoyed it very much. I'd love to speak to someone about doing business with your awesome company. Okay, that's everything. Right hand side in the bottom corner. I truly appreciate you. Thank you so much for all that you do. That's everything. So please jump in. And I always say, we're not perfect, but 99% of the time, we're going to do the best we can. And if there's a problem, that 1% chance, me and Carrie are here typically till 8, 9 p.m. at night. Pick up the phone or shoot us an email, and we'll do what we can to make it right. Okay, so you are our number one, and I think that's the key point here. Let's keep moving forward. I'm almost done here, and then Carlin will take the wheel. Real fast, we are based out of South Florida, and the Florida Panthers are back again fighting for the Stanley Cup. Okay, even if you don't follow hockey, this is a great contest for all agents. Here's why. Okay, you write one app, life or annuity, doesn't make a difference. Okay, and then you pick the winning team of the championship, Stanley Cup, winning team, and the final score of the final score of the last championship game. Okay, so you can just say Oilers scores 4-2. Okay, and if that's what it is, boom, you win $1,000 package on the bottom there. That's what you personally are going to receive. Okay, let's scroll down. $500 Amazon gift card, batch of at least 10 orphan leads, 3 of our top prospecting books. Okay, and it's that easy. Hopefully you pick the Panthers, but it's obviously up to you. Oilers or Panthers, tell us the final score on the championship game, and you are in and done. Okay, now you can go to our Facebook page. You can use the coupon in our thank you email we'll send out tonight, or this is on our website, so you can visit the site as well and make sure you put in your final result or the answer. Okay, let's keep moving forward. Carrie's Corner, I love these editorials. He writes these every month, and they're typically a heartwarming story. And this one happens to do with stats. Okay, and again, what's going on recently in our industry. Unfortunately, right, the numbers, and this is pretty typical in any sales position, but 90% of the agents don't make it over a year. Okay, 10% do. And he talks about what can you do to stay in that 10% area? What are some ideas, right? What can you do to move the needle with consumers, with networking, with sales strategies? So again, a great story. Check that one out when you get a chance, and that will also be in the thank you email. Okay, my last slide here is our 411 newsletter. Why is this so important? Because we have over 90 life, annuity, disability, critical illness carriers and thousands of products. And how are you supposed to know what's going on in the industry with all of these updates, these changes, these companies that went away or products that are brand new? Okay, all you have to do is focus on our 411 newsletter that's in your inbox every other week. In fact, every other Tuesday. Okay, and all of the updates, what's hot, what's not on all sides of the industry is sitting in our 411 Life and Annuity newsletter. So make sure you're getting this. Make sure you check it out. And you'll also want to see the latest incentives of the month on the both life and annuity sides. Okay, which we also have our first annuity app contest up to $500 cash. That's also going on this month as well. Okay, let's keep moving to our featured presentation. So again, one of my favorite carriers, one of my favorite VPs, Carlin, is joining us from Pac Life. She's going to take it from here. Carlin?
Thanks, Bill. I appreciate it. Let me just pull my PowerPoint up for you guys to see. And just confirm for me when you can see it.
Yep, Perfect.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to go through a PowerPoint that's not about product. It's not about Pacific Life. It's about you and your business. So what I want to talk to you about is strategies that can help you optimize your business. And I will tell you, I love quotes. And so this quote at the bottom, I always read it. I know this is a webinar, but I'm going to read it to you because I think it's a really great quote. Never fail to know if you're doing all the talking, you're boring somebody. So I hope I'm not going to bore you guys today, but just keep that in mind. Ask questions, put them in the chat box. We'll be sure to address them at the end of the presentation. So what we're going to cover today is I'm going to give you a brief introduction to the business optimization goal, and then we're going to talk about some strategies and some goals that you can use to help grow your business. We're going to talk about business planning, time management, as well as client management, and then lastly, we'll just wrap up with some next steps. So here's another quote for you. Are you ready for change? The secret of change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new. So Socrates. So what we're going to focus on today is building new things, increasing your production. So we'll talk a little bit about business optimization. The definition of business optimization is a process of identifying and implementing new methods to make your business more efficient and cost effective. You think, okay, well, why is this important to me? Because it boosts your productivity, it reduces your costs, and it increases your profitability. So let's get into a little more information on the business optimization goal. And I love this quote. I saw this years ago. I was at a carrier's office, excuse me, a customer's office, walking through, and I saw this on a whiteboard. The only time success comes before work is in the dictionary. So what we're going to be talking about today is working on your business, not in your business, growing your business. What can we do to do that with these strategies and tools? So what you're seeing here, and throughout the presentation, I'll be using graphs like this. I think about 95% of them look the same way. Revenue is going to be on the vertical. Hours worked will be on the horizontal. So what we're looking at here is the efficient frontier. So all these little black dots you see out here are financial professionals just like you. Some are working more hours, some are working less hours. Some are earning more revenue, some are earning less revenue. So in this example, let's assume you're the blue dot out there on this graph. So one thing you could do was you could actually find a way to work less hours and maintain your current revenue. And that's called optimizing your time. You're optimizing your time to do that. So if I could work a little bit less and keep the same revenue that I'm doing, that might be of interest to me. And maybe I'm later in my career and I want to find ways to work a little bit less but maintain that current revenue. So that's one thing you could consider. The second thing you could consider is maybe you're happy with your work-life balance. When you go home, your family recognizes you. You don't have to put out a passport to prove who you are. So you've got a good work-life balance. But if you could maintain your current hours that you're working today and increase your revenue, that would be something that you would be definitely interested in. And that's just called optimizing your revenue. The last example, which is the one I think everybody really wants to be, what if I could reduce my hours worked at the same time I increase my revenue? This is called business transformation. You would transform your business by being able to work less and earn more. So what we're going to do today, the strategies I'm going to share with you today, are just tools that you can use in your business to actually decrease those hours worked at the same time you're improving your revenue. So let's jump right into business planning. This is our first section on our tools that are available to you. So when you think about your business, think about this. Do you currently have a vision statement for your business? And what is a vision statement? It is the what and not the why. It's a guiding philosophy for your business. It's a blueprint of your final result, and it's aspirational. Now, years ago, I was giving this presentation and I was talking to a gentleman about this, and he came up to me after the presentation and he pulled this crumpled piece of paper out of his pocket. And on this crumpled piece of paper was his vision statement. He carried it around with him. He looked at it every day, and he held himself accountable to that vision statement. And he said to me he'd been to a similar presentation, and after he started doing this with his business increased by 20%. His revenue increased by 20% because of that. And years ago, I heard this, and I'm sure you guys have heard of this person. I'm going to say the name, Bruce Jenner. What was he famous for before he became part of the Kardashian clan? He was famous because he was an Olympian. He was a gold medalist. And after he won that, years later, he was doing motivational speaking. He was meeting with amateur athletes who were they wanted to be an Olympian in the future. And he asked this question to them. He asked them, he said, how many of you here have a vision statement? The entire room raised their hand because all their focus was to get to the Olympics. They wanted to be a gold medalist. So they're trying to get to the Olympics. That was their vision statement. That's where they were going. He followed that question up with a second question. He said, How many of you have it with you today? One gentleman raised his hand in the room. That gentleman was Dan O'Brien, who went on to win Olympic gold in the decathlon, just like Bruce Jenner in the 1996 Olympics. And the reason I talk to you about this example, it's not just about developing that vision statement, it's holding yourself accountable to that vision statement, referring back to it, looking at it, sharing it with other people. When you share things with other people, they help you hold yourself accountable to doing the things you say you're going to do. So write it down, refer to it daily, and communicate it to everybody in your business to make sure they know what your vision statement is. So when you're setting your vision, what you're going to try to do is define and set goals that's going to achieve that vision. What can you do to get to where you want to be? You're going to develop and map out a clear activity plan and invest your time and money to execute that plan to get to where you want to be. So there are three things successful producers have. One, they have a business plan, and that business plan says what they're doing. Two, they have a marketing plan, and that lays out how they're going to accomplish their goals, how they're going to get there. And lastly, they have a revenue goal. How much are they trying to make on an annual basis? What's their revenue goal? Where they're trying to get to? These are three things that you need to have. So when you think about designing a marketing plan, what you want to do is lay it out, say very simply, over the next 12 months, I will acquire X number of clients, and this is how I'm going to do that. This is how I'm going to get these new clients. I'm going to set X number of appointments, and this is how I'm planning to do that. And thirdly, I'm going to process X number of applications, and this is how. So that's what you want to do with the marketing plan. Lay it out and hold yourself accountable to that marketing plan. Setting a revenue goal. This is probably the easiest of the three, obviously, right? We probably want to start here. Last year, I made X. This year, I want to make Y. So what's my goal? What am I trying to increase my business revenue to? So when you're doing business planning, you need to make sure when you're setting your goals, you make them SMART goals. And if you've ever been exposed to Six Sigma, you're very familiar with this. I actually worked at GE for a while, so this Six Sigma was a very big thing at GE. So when you're setting these goals, you need to make them SMART. So S, you need to make sure these goals are very specific. M, you want to make them measurable. You need to be able to measure your success. A, attainable. Is it something that you can actually get to? So let's say today, you're earning $200,000 in revenue, and you say my goal for next year is I want to earn 10 million. Well, it may be attainable, but is it really realistic for your business to jump from 200,000 to 10 million? So just make sure it's something that you can actually do, because you don't want to set a goal for yourself and fail on getting that, and it just discourages you on proceeding forward. So don't do that to yourself. R is relevant. Does your goal that you're laying out, does it support your vision of where you want to be? And then lastly, timely. Whenever you're setting these goals, you want to make sure you can measure it, as I mentioned earlier, but you want to make sure it has a beginning and an end point. Because if I say today I'm going to earn $300,000 in the next, I don't say in the next whatever, then I can hold off for that goal for year upon year upon year and never get there, because I don't have an end point. You need to have an end point with any of your goals that you're setting up. So this is one of the first strategies or tools I want you to be able to use. So take a picture of this. This is a really neat way to think about your business. So in this example, again, revenue is on the vertical and hours worked is going to be on the horizontal. So in this example, assume you are that black dot. So today, you're working 2,500 hours on a yearly basis and earning $150,000. So where do you want to be in the future? So let's say your goal in the future is I want to actually maintain my hours worked, and I want to earn more revenue. So I want to move from that black dot to the blue dot. I want to become 200,000 in revenue with the same hours worked. Again, that's optimizing your revenue. Your next step is, what's your next goal? In the future, what I want to be able to do is actually maximize my hours worked at the same time I'm maximizing my revenue. So you want to move to that greenish yellow dot there. So I want to reduce the hours that I work, and I want to increase my revenue. So I want to go down to 2,000 hours worked on a yearly basis, and I want to earn 200,000 in revenue. So this is a question that I ask a lot of financial professionals like you. Do you know the value of your time? And it's easy to calculate, what's my revenue today divided by the number of hours I worked, I can get to my hourly rate. But a lot of financial professionals do not know what an hour of their time is worth. And I laugh about this because I think people don't realize how important what they're doing is, because if you were to say, hey, I've got a leak at my house today and I called a plumber, that plumber could quote you an hourly rate right off the top of their head, because they know what an hour of their time is worth. Same thing with the lawyer. You call a lawyer, they're going to tell you what their available time is for an hour. What we do is just as important as what they do, so we need to know the value of our time and know what an hour of our time is worth. So now you will know that. Once you do this calculation, you'll know what an hour of your time is worth today. So when you're thinking about that, you might want to start with a benchmark about where you want to be. Where do I want to be for the hour of my time? And maybe you start with $250 an hour. That's where I want to be. But then what you need to do is look like today. Where are you at today? And let's assume we're back in that example we just looked at. I'm working 2,500 hours. I'm earning 150,000 in revenue. So an hour of my time today is $60. Where do I want to be? So what's better than that? Obviously, if we want to optimize our revenue, we're going to do that option where we increase our revenue, and an hour of our time is going to be worth $80. Well, the optimum goal in 12 months is where do I want to be? Is I want to reduce my hours worked and increase my revenue. If I do that, 2,000 hours into 200,000, an hour of my time is going to be worth $100. So I love this quote in the middle of the page, kind of halfway down. Time spent on non-revenue producing activities is time and money lost. What you need to do in your business is define the revenue producing activities and delegate everything else, because you are the growth engine in your business. You're the salesperson. You're driving the growth. You need to be focused on the things that generate revenue for your business. Your time is your greatest revenue producing asset, and the better you manage it and use it, the greater your satisfaction, your revenue, your service, and your income. And that quote there at the bottom, most financial professionals do not know the value of their time, and we need to know that. So with that section, we're going to move into talking a little bit about time management. So here's another quote for you, Thomas Edison. Time is really the only capital that any human being has, and the only thing he cannot afford to lose. So I want to ask you a question. When you think about your business, what percentage of your time is spent on revenue producing activities? Would you say less than 30%? Would you say somewhere between 30 and 60%? Or would you say greater than 60%? So when you think about that, this is a chart we have, and we looked at financial professionals and where they fell on the grid. So we start off with the folks that were less than 30%. That was their income level at less than 30%. And you'll notice I finally have defined what a revenue producing activity is here. A revenue producing activity for your business is the time that you spend with your clients and prospects. So in this example, if you move from less than 30% to somewhere between 30 and 60% of the time you're spending with clients and prospects, you're going to double your income. You're going to increase it twofold. Now, if you increase it to over 60% of your time you're spending with your clients and prospects, you're going to increase your revenue by 8 times. Now, I will say there's only 10% of the financial professionals out there today that fall in that last bucket where they're actually spending more than 60% of their time with clients and prospects. That's a goal you can build into your business about how much time you're spending with clients and prospects. So when you think about how you're spending your time, today, 38% of financial professionals do not have enough time to spend with clients. And there's a lot of reasons why. I'm going to focus on the last 2 bullets on this page. 21% of the time, clients leave financial professionals because of the quality of the relationship. And 9% of the time, it's because of absence of quality communication. So 30% of the time, that's why clients are leaving their financial professionals. So if you can free up your time and focus more on your customers, you can improve those 2 things quickly. So here's another exercise for you. This looks a little tedious, but it really isn't. You can do this on an Excel spreadsheet. What this is what I want you to do is take your average day. Let's say in this example, I'm assuming I start my day at 8 o'clock and I end my day at 6 o'clock. And what I've done is I've broken my day up in 30-minute increments. And I'm going to track what I'm doing for each 30-minute increment. So in this example, from 8:30 to 9, I had a phone interview with a customer. So, and you want to say, was I with a client or not? Yes or no? If it's with a client, the priority level of that activity is a 1. That's where you should be spending your time. If it's something else, for example, from 10 to 10:30, I was doing phone work. Has to be done. I was with the client, but it's not as high of a priority level. It's potentially that first phone interview because maybe I was interviewing a new prospect client. 12 to 12:30, I was at an appointment with the client. Very important to my business. This is generating revenue. So what this does for you is it helps you understand how and where you spend your time. It defines the task you do each day, and you can lose sight of this pretty quickly if you don't track it. because sometimes you're spending time on things that aren't generating revenue for your business, and you're not really realizing that. This will identify that and show it to you. So what you want to do is you want to identify the best resources to fulfill the things on this chart that don't generate revenue for your business. They have to get done. For example, the case paperwork. You're not in front of a client. It has to get done. How can you do it differently? You can always leverage Levinson to help you with things like that, to help you find ways to spend more time in front of clients and less time working on the things like case paperwork. So after you do that exercise, what we want you to do is take your most top 20 to 8 activities that fall into that chart and then drop them into this grid. Now this grid is value on the vertical and time on the horizontal. So let's start at the top quadrant there. These are things that you want to increase your business. You want to increase time spent on leads. You want to increase strategic partnering. You want to increase time on the phone with your customers. Those things bring you high value and they're not time intensive. Now, if you move to the second quadrant, add and automate, these things again bring you high value, but they are time intensive. So what you want to do is find ways to do these things less time intensively. And with COVID, this really helped us because a lot of times people were driving to meet their customers. Maybe they were going long distances, and you spent that time to meet with your customer, get the application, come back, do your work at home. But now you can do it virtually. You can do it over the phone. You can have a virtual conversation with a new client, all virtually, without having to spend that time driving to them and things like that. Also, e-applications will save you time. Drop tickets, anything that saves you time from doing that paperwork that makes it time intensive for you, you can free that time up and spend more time with your clients. Now let's go down to the bottom quadrant that says reduce. These are the things that don't bring you a lot of value. They don't take a lot of time either. So we just want to find ways to reduce these things. Following up on pending cases, paperwork, case management. We don't want you to be spending your time on case management because, again, you're the revenue generating engine for your business. So you want to be focused on sales activities. And then lastly, we're going to look at outsource and partner, appointment setting, lead management. These things have to happen. They don't bring necessarily a huge amount of value, but they are time intensive. So is there a way to find a way to partner with someone to help you with that or outsource those activities? So when you think of time management, it's really an art and a science. So think about your business today. How much time do you have available per year? When you think about time off, how many weeks per year do you plan to take off and spend time on vacation? Appointments, how many do you want to have a week with customers or prospects? Customers, what's your annual capacity? How many customers can you currently handle? And lastly, existing customers, how much time do you want to spend with these existing customers? I really like this. This is an exercise it's called the time bank analysis. And I think this is very, very helpful. So what you're going to do here is you're going to identify where and how time will be spent. And you're going to maximize your customer capacity. So let's start off number 1, total number of weeks worked per year. So you think about a year, there's 52 weeks in the year. Let's say you're going to take 2 weeks off and you have, holidays built in there, federal holidays built in there. So you're available to work 45 weeks in a year. So number 2, how many appointments per week do you want to have on the schedule? In this example, we assume 10. You want to have 10 appointments, either with a new customer, an existing customer, or a prospect. Now, number 3 is the total number of appointments per year you plan to have. So that's just simply taking the 45 times the 10, and your total appointments per year are going to be 450 appointments. Now, number 4, how many times do you want to make sure you have an interaction with your client? Again, this could be a prospect or existing client or a new customer. Now, this example, we're assuming 2. For your business, it might be a quarterly thing. You might want to touch base quarterly. It's what makes sense for your business. So we're going to assume 2 here. Biannually, I'm going to make sure I have contact with my client or my customer. So number 5, total customer capacity per year. All we're doing here is taking that 450 number, dividing it by 2, and it says I can handle 225 customers on a yearly basis. Number 6, number of existing clients. So today, let's say you have 100 existing clients on the books with you, but you have the capacity to handle 225 customers. So when you go to number 7, all you're doing is taking 225 minus 100 to say, hey, I can handle another 125 customers with my schedule. And then lastly, number 8, what's your monthly new customer capacity? All you're doing there is you're taking 12 into 125 to say I can handle on a monthly basis 10 new customers. It just lays it out very, very succinctly for you. So with that, we're going to head into client management. So client management, this example here is Pareto's principle, and I'll give you a little background on Pareto. Pareto was an Italian economist who lived a long time ago, and he was doing a study on land ownership in Italy. And he found out that 80% of the land was owned by 20% of the population. And he decided to take this a little further and study it a little bit more. He had an herb garden, and he grew, vegetation out there in his herb garden. And he looked at that, and he found that 20% of the plants generated 80% of the vegetation. So this more common practice is called the 80-20 rule. And I'm sure you've heard of the 80-20 rule. So what this tells you is that 20% of your clients generate 80% of your business, 80% of your production comes from 20% of your clients. But the flip side of this you need to think about is 80% of your clients only generate 20% of your business. So from a time management standpoint, we need to find a way to free ourselves up from that 80% because they're not generating the same amount of revenue as our top 20%. If you've never done an 80-20 on your business, I highly recommend you do that. It will be eye-opening. There will be some customers that you thought were bigger than they are, and there'll be some customers you thought were smaller and they're actually a lot bigger and more important to you than you realize. So always take the time to do an 80-20 on your business to find out what 20% of your clients are generating 80% of the business. And I will say this rule holds true. If you ever go home to look at your closet, you wear 20% of your wardrobe 80% of the time. And that could be shoes, ties, whatever. And it's true for everyone. It's even true for your pets. Your pet plays with the same toy 80% of the time. So this is just a rule across the board. So definitely take the time to run that on your business. So what I want to do here is do some quantitative analysis, and we're going to look at a book of business of 200 customers. Again, revenue is going to be on that vertical, and hours worked is going to be on the horizontal. So what you see here is, on average, 40 clients out of a book of 200 will generate 80% of your revenue. So those green dots are extremely important to you, and you need to identify who they are and know them very well. On the flip side, 120 clients out of a book of 200 will generate less than 10% of your revenue. And you are spending a lot of time with these 120 clients, especially those red dots off to the right-hand side. Look how much time you're spending with those folks, and look how little revenue they're generating for your business. So when I say it's important to know your top customers, it's also important to know the customers that I call the time suck customers. They take, and they're not giving back to you. So you're spending a lot of time working with them, but you're not getting the revenue that equals out to the time that you're spending with them. So you want to know who the heck they are as well. So in this example, frequently 7 of the 10 customers will generate more revenue than the entire bottom 120. You definitely want to know who these top 10 customers are, because you want to replicate these folks, and you want to spend as much time as you can with these folks. So we're going to take the qualitative analysis approach now. What we're going to do is the 4-quadrant review of this same 200 book of business. So we've got this 200 clients laid out into the same grid. The revenue is a vertical, hours worked on the horizontal. So in the first group, these are larger premium cases, but they're easy cases. They don't take a lot of your time. They're easy to work with clients. In quadrant 2, again, larger premium customers takes more time. Usually there's multiple policies involved. They may be business owners. They may be more complex situations. So it takes more time for you, but it generates a lot of revenue for you as well. And then quadrant number 3, these are remote selling opportunities. These are folks that may have been in the first quadrant, maybe a first-year commission, they fell in the first quadrant, and over time they've drifted down to the bottom. They don't take a lot of your time today, and they don't generate a lot of revenue, but it's a great referral source for your business. They are great referral sources, and don't let these folks go, because you can eventually raise them back up if you work with them. And then lastly, quadrant number 4, these are the folks that take the most of your time and generate the least amount of revenue. And I'll ask this question, and I know you can't answer me back, but if you've ever worked with an engineer, you know what I'm talking about here. These are the folks that will pick apart any plan that you give them and ask question upon question upon question, and may not ever make the purchase. Or if they do, it's going to be half of what you suggested that they do. So those are the folks that fall in that quadrant number 4. So what we want to do is find ways to replicate those customers in quadrant number 1. We want to find ways to leverage and maximize our opportunity with our best customers in quadrant number 2 there. And number 3, we want to find ways to develop the quadrant 3, those clients that have maybe drifted down over time. There's still opportunities for you, especially referral opportunities. And lastly, number 4, you're just going to find a different way to work with these folks. And it might be that you want to, hand them off to a junior partner, or you want to find ways to outsource, because if you can free up that amount of time you're spending with these guys and gals, you can focus more heavily on your best clients. So in the last section today, I want to focus on ways we can replicate your best clients. So I highly recommend you do this. If you've never done this before, you should host a client-centric event. And what you need to do is make a list, write down your top 10 customers. Now, if you've done an 80-20 on your business, you'll know who those top 10 customers off the top of your head are. But a lot of times what I've seen is people can write down their top 5 pretty quickly. They have to think a bit to get to 6 and 7 and 8. And 9 and 10, they might not have any idea who that is. So definitely do that 80-20 so you know who your top 10 customers are. Write down their interests. What are they interested in? And after you've done that, look for commonalities between your top customers. Another thing you want to think about too with your top 10 customers is you want to make sure you have a relationship with the spouse. So if you're just working with one of the people in the couple, make sure you have a relationship with the spouse. It's very important to have that relationship with both parties, because if one of them passes away and the one left standing has no relationship with you, they're going to take their business elsewhere. So you want to make sure you have a relationship with both members of that couple. So I'm telling you something you already know. We're definitely in a relationship business. It's very important to have a good relationship with your customers. You want to find ways to increase time with your clients. Spend as much time with your best clients as you possibly can. Again, back to that 80-20. Know who your top customers are. Spend as much time with them as you possibly can. So when you're thinking about client-centric events, here's some event ideas, and I've actually used some of these myself. So I live in Virginia, and there's a lot of local wineries around me. And you can host an event with your clients in a local vineyard, do a tasting in a local vineyard, and get your customers together. Now, like I said earlier, if you have a relationship, let's say with the husband, invite the wife to come with that. So you have like a couples event at a local winery. Number 2, golf outing. Maybe your number 1 customer is an avid golfer, let's say. What you could do is set up a foursome with your number 1 customer and ask him to bring 2 friends. Because when you think about us and who our friends are, they look like us. So you really want to know your top customers' friends as well. So whenever you're doing these types of events, it's a great opportunity to say, hey, bring a friend. The art gallery event, I actually did this in Richmond, Virginia. It was a tour of Picasso was coming through. I hosted a museum event for my customers. We went through, did the museum, and at the end, we did like a wine and hors d'oeuvre event at the very end of it. And then lastly, the jewelry or the fashion show. I think this is a cool one because maybe you have a relationship with a local jeweler and you can actually, book time, a private viewing with the jewelry show where your clients come in and do a private tour of the jewelry, or a fashion show. Again, if you have a relationship with the husband, maybe this is an opportunity to invite the wives to this event so you can get to know them. So when you think about these client-centric marketing events, what you want to be focused on is having a small group. You don't want a mass of humanity out there, because the purpose of these events is to really get to know your customers and establish a deep relationship. So you don't want to go an inch deep and a mile wide. You want to go a mile deep with that customer to really, really get to know them. And it's really important. Do not do a product pitch. This is a client appreciation event. This is not an event where you're going to set them down and talk to them about an annuity or about a life insurance program. You just want to focus on them and make sure it's an event about them and their interest. Do not do a bait and switch and start talking about product. Again, you want to make it focused on their interest. There's a reason they want to attend, because it's something that they're interested in. And I mentioned this earlier. Have them bring a friend, because this is a huge opportunity to get to know their friend base. Especially if you're working with a business owner, you want to know their friends. A lot of times they are business owners as well. So there's more opportunities for you to get to know those folks. So next steps, when you're thinking about what we talked about today, if you do not have a vision statement for your business, develop that vision statement. And you can Google it. You can go out there and Google it about, if you're not really sure how to do it, you can go out there and Google, how do I develop a vision statement? There's lots of great tools out there. AI can help you with that as well. But when you're doing that vision statement, what you also want to do is set SMART goals for yourself. Make it specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. And what I'd love for you to do is pick one of the strategies that we talked about today, implement it, and track the progress for 21 days. Don't pick all of them, just pick one. And the reason I want you to track it for 21 days is after you do something for 21 days, it becomes a habit, right? So you can actually become a habit and it's part of your business automatically. And then you can pick another strategy and do the same thing with the second strategy. And lastly, you need to leverage Levinson. They're here to help you grow. They're here to help you grow your business. That's what they want to do. And they're wonderful at it. They're one of my best customers. So definitely, if you're not utilizing everything that Levinson offers for you, you're missing out. And I'm going to stop with a thank you. And then I ask Andrew, are there any questions that I need to address?
Carlin, you know what? If you don't mind, can you just touch on just the 100-foot overview on the term in the GUL, just for a couple minutes?
Sure. So as Bill mentioned, yeah, sure. As Bill mentioned earlier, our term is extremely competitive. We do have a drop ticket process where you don't have to complete a full application to apply, just a couple questions you submit, and then we complete the complete application for you by either doing a phone interview with the client or an online health history. That's another way to save time for your business. We do offer accelerated underwriting for our term product, which is PL Promise Term. It's available up to 3 million clients age 18 to 60. We don't require any medicals, no APS, no labs. We make a determination. They need to be a standard or better risk to qualify, but that's a very, very quick process for you. We do offer another process that's called modified, which we only require an APS for that, and that's for the higher face amounts, older ages, what we're looking for there. So 18 to 70, that program works where we don't require any medicals. There's no lab work required. So we're just going to go out for the client's APS and get them the information we need. And that's assuming they're a person that goes to their doctor at least once every 12 months. The GUL, as Bill mentioned earlier, is extremely competitive. If you have not looked at our GUL, you are missing out. It's PL Promise GUL. If you dial it down to 90, there's not a soul out there that can beat our pricing. It has a built-in return of premium when you guarantee it to age 100, which gives you a nice exit strategy. If you have a situation where maybe it's a business situation and they need the protection for a certain period of time, and after that period of time they don't need it anymore, they can get back some of their premiums back out of that policy when they choose to use that return of premium feature. And it's no cost to the client as long as you guarantee the policy to at least age 100. Our commissionable targets are very attractive on the GUL as well. And also the thing that Bill mentioned in the first slide that we showed, we do pay 150% of normal compensation on our conversions. So if you have a client, or even if you come across a client, maybe it wasn't your client initially, maybe it was a new prospect and you did a policy review and discovered that they had a PL Promise term. I actually had this happen where an advisor sat down with a new client, found out that she had a term product, and he asked her, you know, why did you choose term insurance versus, I'm paraphrasing obviously, versus a permanent product? And she looked at him and she said, I don't know what you're talking about. She didn't know what the difference, but obviously she didn't know the difference between term and permanent. So we had a whole conversation with her about it. And she said, of course, I definitely want the permanent coverage. That's what I would have chosen. Had the first agent who sold her the PL Promise term had the conversation, that's the way she would have went. So what he did is he converted it. It was a PL Promise 10-year term. In year 4, he converted the policy. He wasn't the original writing agent. He got 150% of his normal compensation for converting that policy to what she wanted to begin with, that she didn't get sold by the first agent. So it's a huge opportunity. If you want more about that, Bill can give you a product sheet that shows you how the breakdown is. Our number one selling duration for our term product is the 20-year term. So the first 9 years, if that policy is converted in the first 9 years, you can qualify for 150% of normal compensation. It's a really attractive product. It is a GUL that has the return of premium feature that I mentioned that our new cell GUL has as well. So take a look if you haven't looked at it. Very, very competitive out there. And I mentioned, we just rolled out, one other thing I want to mention, we just rolled out 1st of October, our Pacific Life Healthy Rewards program. And with this program, we're looking at your clients holistically to see if there's ways that we can improve our regular offer on the client. So they're looking for it. I'm going to do quote, air quotes. You can't see me doing it. The underwriter is looking for credits they can give the client, healthy reward credits. What are they doing to extend their life? Are they going to their doctor on a regular basis? Are they following their doctor's guidelines? Are they a member of a gym? Things like that. They're looking for anything like that that they can give the client credits to improve the offer. And we have actually seen standard offers approved to select or better 10% of the time since this program rolled out. So we're seeing great things with that. So if you ever do an informal with us or a formal, the underwriting, when they do the approval, will tell you if the client qualified for Pacific Life Healthy Rewards. And that is only available, not on our accelerated cases, but cases where we're looking at an APS.
Yeah,
Did I hit everything you wanted me to hit, Bill? Yeah.
No. That was great. What I'm going to do is we only have a few more minutes, so I want to talk about Carlin. Number one, I just want to say thank you, and I want to get into. We have a great quote and apply platform on our website, so I'm going to just show everyone how they can literally quote and go right to the drop ticket in less than 10 minutes or so. So let's, Andrew, if we can move on, and then Carlin. Thank you again. And what we'll do is circle back with any questions, comments, and I'll keep you in the loop after we're done, after we wrap up here. Okay. Okay. Let's get Andrew. There we go. Perfect. Okay. How to get started. All of this is going to be in the thank you email that you'll receive tonight. Like I mentioned, if you're already appointed with another IMO and you want to move over to Levinson, most of the time we beat your existing comp or at the very minimum match it, but you can take advantage of cash for contracting, leads for contracting, which basically means you get at least $100 to $500 cash and at least a batch of orphan leads with your first paid application if you're moving from another IMO or BGA. Okay, call it whatever you want. The right-hand side is all the Pack Life marketing materials, tools. They have a great social media marketing platform. I'm going to show you in just a few more slides here. Let's go to the next slide. Now, this is very important because if you're out there quoting their Pack Life competitive term or GUL, right? And as Carlin mentioned, you can dial down to age 90, go to 95, 100, okay? Totally up to you and the consumer. But here's what's so cool about all of this. You put in the basic information about the consumer, and you can do this on the phone with them through a Zoom or go to a meeting like this, and you're putting in the basic info, you're going to get the quote, and then as soon as the quote comes up, look at the right-hand side, you just hit apply, and it takes all that information, populates it into the drop ticket, and boom, you fill out what's ever missing and hit apply. You are done. Okay, less than 10 minutes. Very, very simple. Okay, and then you can see on the bottom there, that's the drop ticket, but it's all integrated right into levinsonandassociates.com to make your world a lot easier. Okay, which we know how cumbersome that could be with taking like an old school quote and application. Okay, with some of these companies that are still, they still think it's 1985. Unfortunately, let's keep moving forward. By the way, that's all complimentary. The next thing you need to know is the underwriting niches with Pack Life. So this is huge. So on top of the very competitive term in GUL, up to preferred non-smoker rates for occasional marijuana use, that's huge. Okay, usually you find that, but with an inflated premium product. So the client's paying for it either way, or the commission is cut in half. The middle section, very liberal height and weight guidelines. So they give you about, I would say, 5 to 10% of fluctuation in the height and weight charts. Liberal guidelines for mood disorder, anxiety, there it is, ADD, and depression and PTSD. So just to give you an idea, we've seen companies come in at table 2. Okay, and we've seen PAC come in at standard with no table rating, especially with the Fit Credit program that Carlin mentioned. So let us know if you have any cases that fall into that category, and then we can even shop it for you before you write the application. So totally up to you. Let's keep moving forward. So if you don't want us to shop the case, you want to do this on your own, this is all complimentary, part of our platform. Everything, all of PAC Life's underwriting guidelines are built into X-Ray and the eGenius underwriter. So that means, let's say you're meeting with a client consumer on a Sunday afternoon and we're closed. Okay. And you know right off the bat they're 5'10", 292 pounds, and you don't know what health class they're going to fall into. So you can put as little or as much information that you have into X-Ray or eGenius, and the system's going to tell you the product, the premium, the health class, and then boom, off to application, and you are done before we even get into the office Monday morning. So take advantage of all of this. It's also integrated through our mobile app, okay? Through the mobile app with Levinson. So you can go either through the website or our app. Very easy. Let's keep moving forward. So real fast, and I know I just have a few more minutes. I want to get everyone out on time. So top left-hand corner. Now, you talk about the long-term care indemnity rider. No one does it better than PAC. This is available on their GUL product. And what I love about this rider, no receipts, no nothing. Okay, you put in the request, and boom, up to $3 million accelerated to the consumer, to the insured. Okay. Love that. And it's not, when you look at some of these hybrids, the life and LTC combos, you're going to save the client a ton of premium by going with a life LTC rider, just like Pac Life offers. Real fast too, what I want to mention, and this is a big deal, up to age 70, up to $3 million, no exams. Okay, that's a big deal. Yes, it's standard or better. Okay, but there's a lot of wiggle room there. Okay, and I'm seeing as long as it's standard or better, underwriting time frame is typically been about a week. I would say 7 to 10 days on the average. So they are putting these in quickly and getting them approved and out within 7 to 10 days on the average. Okay. Now, obviously, if a red flag comes up, they could dig a little deeper, but things have been very quick, and I notice it's getting faster and faster. Now, this is one of my favorite things about PAC. I know Carlin didn't have the time to mention this. So when you think about social media and you think about all of the material and the time to post, right? You got to be creative. You got to be scrappy when it comes to social media. We can go to the next slide, Andrew. That would be great. So Pac Life has a turnkey library, okay, that's already pre-made, pre-built for you. So once you're an active agent, unless you're already active with us, we can get you full access. But they have this turnkey series of social media posts that you can send out. It makes it very, very simple. Okay, 3-step process. There's a series you can send out every week for, let's say, 8 weeks. And then by the time you're into hopefully the 4th to 8th week, right? The consumer, the friend, the network, your network, family, friends, neighbor, all the above, they hopefully click your link, boom, website, run a quote, and then push the button for a phone call or appointment request, and you're off to the races. So everything's already done for you. If you want access, you just let us know. We'll get everything you need out to you. Any one of our marketers can help you with that. Ian. So Ian was on podcast number 57. In fact, Pac Life is one of his favorite companies as well. This was the last episode that we did. I encourage you to listen to this 1-hour interview. It's basically me putting my agent hat on and pretending that I'm out there in the trenches. I'm saying, Ian, tell me what's working, what's not. What do I need to do to be successful in this industry? And we share everything on number 57. And then I have a new episode coming out for this month, June. You're also going to love. It's a little surprise, so you'll hear more about that in the next 1 to 2 weeks. Okay, let's move on to the menu of webinars, and then we're going to put a bow on this with our giveaway in just a second. We have these great products now, okay? We know about the Indemnity LTC rider and how great that is, and the term with a conversion up to 140, 150% comp. Great, great, great. We need more people to talk to, Bill, okay? What do? Well, we need to get creative on social media. We need to learn about paid ads, okay? We need to experiment with some of these co-op lead programs that you offer, Bill. Okay, great. So what we're doing here, this is our menu of upcoming trainings. And we literally are talking about each one of those things, but you have to be there to listen, okay? And we make these available now about 2 to 3 weeks after. So try to register and try to be on these live like you're on right now listening to the 3 of us today. Okay, but on the top section there on the 12th, we literally are pulling in one of the top third-party agencies for social media posting, paid ads, marketing platforms. So that's going to be a great one. You got to be on it to learn. Okay, just under that, right with Mutual of Omaha in 25, what's hot, what's not on the 19th. Now, I'm not going to go over each one, but what I'm going to tell you is we'll include this little snapshot in our thank you email, but make sure you're on these trainings. On the bottom there is Ringy. Okay, they have incorporated AI into their latest platform. This is a great way to spread the word, to spread the message that, hey, it's me, Bill Levinson, the life and LTC guru, and you're reaching out to the clients by text, by email, until they say, hey, I'm ready to talk more. I want a quote, Bill. Great. Okay, but you got to figure out a way to keep your name in front of your network, your family, friends, neighbors. So that system works great. I know for a fact because we use it. We use it for agents. Okay, so Very, very important. I use that that all the agents, okay, and you should be looking at it like all the prospects sitting on a shelf collecting dust until you reach out to them, okay? And again, could be text, email, phone call, mailer, all the above. But the point is, you stop at nothing until they say, "Hey, Judy, Shelley, I'm ready for a quote. Let's talk more." Okay, and then you get into all the value add. The rest is history. Let's move on to our final slide. Hopefully, you're going to be a winner today. What I'm going to talk about first is my Positive Tuesday quote. What does it mean? Positive Tuesday means absolutely nothing. It's just a way that we get our name out, our brand out in front of our agents. You should be doing the same thing for your network, clients, consumers, prospects. Everybody needs to know you're the guru. Okay? Those things that you thought were drowning you in reality taught you how to swim. Live, learn, and evolve, and keep moving forward. Okay? That's the Positive Tuesday quote. Hopefully you come up with Long-Term Care Monday, Life Friday, Annuity Tuesday. Call it whatever you want, but you got to be consistent and persistent every week. And even if you only have 3 followers and you get 1 like, okay, and you say, "Bill, this is not working for me," that's 3 more followers and 1 more like than you had yesterday. Okay, so you're moving in the right direction. It's little wins every day. Okay, that's how we were built, literally, over the years. Okay, today over 24,000 agents. So we did something right, and you don't have to listen to my words. Watch what we do by our actions, and you should be doing the same thing to your consumers on the retail side. Okay, question of the day. Make sure your little fingers are on the keyboard. You got to be quick. Okay, we spoke about Pac Life and their great underwriting platform. Tell us the max issue age, max death benefit for the no exam underwriting and the products that you can use that will fall into this criteria. Okay, so it's 3 answers: max age, max death benefit, and the products that fall into this no exam underwriting platform. Okay, so 3 answers: age, death benefit, and the products that fall into Pac Life's no exam underwriting platform. I mentioned it, Carlin mentioned it, and I think by now we have someone that answered. Andrew's going to tell us who was number 1. Do we have a winner?
Patty. We have Patty B is the winner. Patty B is in boy.
Patty, congratulations. It's actually very, very simple. Age 70, the max age up to $3 million, and they only have 2 products, right? We're marketing the 2 brokerage products, term and GUL. Congrats, Patty. By the way, everyone's a winner because when we're done, you're going to get our thank you email. You're going to leave a comment, a little testimonial on our Facebook page. We'll send you a complimentary prospecting book on us or our Google reviews page. Let's have a great day. Great selling. Thank you, Carlin. Thank you to each and every one of you. And we'll see you next week, next Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern.